Seen from above, Indonesia looks like thousands of shattered pieces of green jade scattered between Asia and Oceania. More than 17,000 islands, more than 280 million people, a territory stretching almost as wide as the United States. And yet, the people here still say a single lifetime may not be enough to see all of Indonesia. Beneath the endless green rice fields, more than 130 volcanoes quietly breathe. It is this fire from within the earth that has created this fertile land, beautiful, fierce, and forever in motion. Just by stepping from one island to another, the whole world in front of you can change. You'll meet women who carry a quiet strength, communities who live almost their entire lives upon the sea, and tiny spices that once drove entire fleets to cross oceans in search of them. Most travelers come to Indonesia looking for a beautiful beach or an ancient temple. But behind those postcards lies a completely different country, deeper, wilder, and at times almost too astonishing to be real. Welcome to Amazing Discoveries Top US. The journey to discover Indonesia begins right now. Part 1. The Arc of 17,000 Islands. Travel through Indonesia and you'll quickly realize this is not a country with just one face. Hundreds of ethnic groups, more than 700 languages still spoken every day, all living together across a chain of islands stretching from Sumatra in the west to Papua in the east, a distance roughly equal to the span from London to Baghdad. And each time a boat lands on a new island, the scenery, the language, the clothing, even the way people view life and death can change entirely. In Java, the largest Buddhist temple in the world stands not far from ancient Hindu shrines. Offshore, there are communities that spend nearly their entire lives upon the sea. And deep in the highlands, some families still keep their deceased loved ones at home for months, even years before the final farewell ceremony. These seemingly separate worlds don't contradict one another. They coexist, blend together, and form an Indonesia so diverse that traveling just a few hundred kilometers can feel like stepping into an entirely different country. But to understand this land, we must leave the mainland behind, because the next story begins where the sea is no longer a boundary, but becomes a home. Part 2. The Bajau Children of the Sea. Leaving behind the crowded cities, Indonesia begins to reveal a way of life that feels almost like it belongs to another world. In the waters connecting Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines, the Bajau people have lived adrift for generations. They are often called the last true sea nomads of the archipelago. In villages like Kabalutan, wooden stilt houses rise up in the middle of the ocean, with not a single patch of land beneath them. Children learn to swim almost as soon as they learn to walk. For the Bajau, the sea is not a boundary separating them from the world. The sea is home itself. But what makes this community so extraordinary lies even deeper within their own bodies. Bajau divers can descend more than 70 meters on a single breath, sometimes with nothing more than a self-made wooden diving mask. They dive to fish, to gather food, and to feed their families, just as their ancestors did for centuries before them. In 2018, a study published in the journal Cell found that the spleens of the Bajau are roughly 50% larger on average than those of neighboring communities who don't live by diving. Their bodies appear to have adapted to the ocean over many generations, and that isn't the only strange wonder found in these waters. On Kakaban Island, an isolated lake is home to thousands of jellyfish that have lost most of their ability to sting, the result of millions of years of evolution. Swimming among them feels like drifting through a dream. But life on the sea isn't only freedom and beauty. Behind those clear turquoise waters lies a fragile existence, one where every meal, every storm, and the very future of a family all depend on the ocean. Part 3. The women who keep the rhythm of 17,000 islands. Step into an Indonesian market before the sun rises. Amid the calls between vendors, the smell of spices and stalls just opening for the day, you'll quickly notice who keeps this place running. It's the women. They sell goods, manage the money, care for their families, and hold the rhythm of the whole neighborhood together, with a quiet strength so understated that outsiders often don't even notice it. Across more than 17,000 islands, the beauty of Indonesian women also takes on many different shades. From the gentle grace of Javanese women, to the sun-kissed skin of Bali, the fierce strength of Sumatran women, to the distinctly Melanesian features found in Papua. But what travelers remember longer than any physical trait is the way these women move through life, warm toward strangers, resourceful in their work, and resilient. Through hardships, they never feel the need to put into words. And in West Sumatra, that role becomes even more distinctive. The Minangkabau people form one of the largest matrilineal societies in the world today. Land homes and family property are all passed down through the maternal line. Women become the keepers of bloodline home and the memory of the entire family. This tradition has endured for hundreds of years within a country where most communities are still structured around patrilineal lines. Today, Indonesian women are present not only within the family or the marketplace. They are moving further into education, business, and public life, opening paths that earlier generations could hardly have imagined. They don't need to raise their voices to prove their strength, because across this entire archipelago, that strength already lives in every home, every market, and in the way the whole community keeps moving forward. But in Indonesia, there is one place where even farewell doesn't happen the way we know it. To understand that, we must travel up into the highlands of Sulawesi. Part 4. TORAJA, where the departed still remain. In the highlands of Sulawesi, death doesn't always mean an immediate goodbye. For the TORAJA people of Tanah Toraja, it's merely the beginning of a journey back to the ancestors. When someone passes away, the funeral may not take place right away. The deceased is sometimes kept at home for months, even years. During that time, the family continues to change their clothes, speak to them, and offer symbolic meals. To outsiders, this can be difficult to understand. But to the TORAJA, the loved one hasn't truly left. They are simply in a transitional state, still belonging to the family, until the final farewell ceremony is complete. That ceremony is called Rambu Solo. It is far more than the funeral. It's a major event that can last several days and draws in the entire community. Many families spend years preparing and saving for it. Buffalo and pigs are sacrificed as part of the ritual guiding the departed soul back to the ancestors. After the farewell ceremony, the coffin may be placed inside a cave or in a grave carved directly into a high cliff face. In front of some graves stand wooden tau, statues carved in the likeness of the deceased. They stand silently on the cliffside, looking out over the valley like guardians of memory across generations. In Tanah Toraja, people don't try to forget death. They take the time to live alongside it, to accept it, and only then slowly say goodbye. But leaving the highlands behind, another chapter of Indonesia's history emerges, this time in the roadside kitchens. It's the story of flavors that once drove the entire world to cross oceans in search of them. Part 5. The spices that once drove the world across the ocean. In Indonesia, the meal you remember most doesn't always come from an upscale restaurant. It shows up on a small roadside table under a simple awning in front of a low plastic stool. As the evening light fades, the kaki lima food carts begin to light up. Smoke rises from charcoal stoves. The sizzle of hot oil mixes with the sound of passing traffic, and the scent of spices drifts out until the whole street turns into one giant kitchen. This is when Indonesia tells its story through flavor. There's rendang from West Sumatra, meat slow cooked in coconut milk and spices until rich and deeply concentrated. This dish topped CNN's poll of the world's most delicious foods in both 2011 and 2017. There's the humble nasi goreng, though every region gives it its own distinct twist. Then, there's satay grilled over glowing charcoal steaming bowls of soto gado-gado, served with peanut sauce and fiery sambal that appears on nearly every table. But these flavors did more than just feed people. At one point, they changed the course of world history itself. Centuries ago, the Maluku Islands in eastern Indonesia were one of the only places on Earth where nutmeg and cloves grew naturally. These tiny spices were once so precious that European fleets were willing to cross thousands of kilometers of ocean just to find them. Trade rivalry and conquest followed one after another, all because of the fragrance that came from these islands. Today, cloves and nutmeg are no longer treasures reserved for nobility. They've returned to where their story began, in family kitchens, on street food carts, in dishes that cost only a few dollars, yet carry centuries of history behind them. And yet, beneath the very land that gave birth to these spices, a far greater force is still stirring. That force is fire. Part 6. Stone, fire, and wonders still alive. There are places in Indonesia where the earth itself still seems to be telling its own story. In the middle of Java, Borobudur rises out of the morning mist. Layer upon layer of stone stacked together, covered in reliefs that have endured for more than 1,000 years. Not far away, the towers of Prambanan reach toward the sky, sharp, elegant, and completely different in spirit. Within a single region, two masterpieces from two different religions stand side by side, a quiet reminder that Indonesia has never been shaped by just one faith. In Bali, temples perch on cliffs, facing the waves day and night. Further inland, the Subak terraced rice fields turn entire hillsides into rolling layers of green. But when night falls over Mount Ijen, Indonesia reveals a completely different face. Sulfuric gas escaping from the cracks ignites, casting strange blue flames through the darkness. Seen from a distance, the mountain looks as though it's burning with a fire that doesn't belong to this world. And deep beneath the archipelago, that same power has never truly disappeared. Lake Toba today is almost unbelievably calm. But roughly 74,000 years ago, this very spot was the site of one of the most violent supervolcanic eruptions known in human history. Indonesia isn't shaped by fire alone. Life here takes on extraordinary forms as well. On the dry, grassy hills, Komodo dragons move slowly, like creatures left over from prehistoric times. In the forests of Sumatra, the Rafflesia flower can bloom to over 1 meter wide, making it one of the largest single flowers on Earth. Stone, fire, water, and life have collided, destroyed, and rebuilt this land again and again over thousands of years. But Indonesia's greatest wonder may not be found in any temple or volcanic crater. It lies in the way its people have learned to live calmly, upon a land that has never truly stood still. Part 7. Jakarta, the city where time stretches. Dawn in Jakarta doesn't arrive quietly. It begins with the roar of engines, the honking of horns, and a river of people flowing through the streets in a current that never seems to stop. Roughly 10 million people live within the city proper. Counting the entire Jabodetabek metropolitan area, that number climbs past 30 million. But the true pulse of Jakarta isn't found only in the packed traffic. It starts in the pre-dawn markets, where vegetables, fresh fish, and everyday stories change hands before most of the city has even finished its first cup of coffee. In the middle of a city that never slows down, Indonesians still make time for nongkrong, sitting together, sharing a drink, and talking without needing any particular reason. Here, simply being near one another sometimes matters more than rushing off somewhere. And that's also where you come to understand jam karet, rubber time. Time can stretch when the conversation is good, when a meal isn't quite finished, or when a friend has just stopped by. To outsiders, this might look like delay. But for many Indonesians, it's simply the choice to give more time to what's meaningful right in front of them. While Jakarta keeps moving without pause, a new capital called Nusantara is gradually taking shape on the island of Borneo, set to take over as the country's political center. The future may shift toward another city, but for now, Jakarta remains the sleepless heart of Indonesia, chaotic, crowded, sometimes exhausting, yet always full of deeply human moments. And far away from those buildings and traffic on the island of Sumba, an entirely different rhythm is rising, not the sound of engines, but the pounding of hooves upon the earth. Part 8. PASOLA. When the whole island shakes. Every year across the vast fields of Sumba Island, the crowd suddenly falls silent. Then comes the sound of galloping hooves. Local horsemen charge across the grasslands in the PASOLA festival, a ritual that has endured for generations. This is more than a contest of speed and courage. PASOLA is tied to ancient beliefs, the cycle of the harvest, and the hope that the land will continue to bear fruit. In that moment, the riders, the horses, and the land itself seem to move as one single rhythm. Amid the shouting and the pounding of hooves, you realize that an ancient tradition still holds enough power to shake an entire island. But before stepping into that world yourself, there are a few things about Indonesia every traveler should know. Part 9. Before you set foot in Indonesia. Indonesia isn't a place to rush through. The rainy season generally runs from November to March, bringing sudden downpours that also leave the islands looking greener than ever. Across thousands of islands, ferries become part of the journey itself. On land, motorbikes are everywhere, and helmets are always required. Outside the major cities, it's wise to carry cash. When entering temples, dress modestly and remove your shoes if asked to. And don't forget about jam karet, rubber time. Schedules may shift and trips may slow down. But sometimes it's exactly those unplanned moments that end up being the most memorable part of Indonesia. Because here, the journey isn't only about where you're headed. It's also about the unexpected things that happen along the way. Part 10. What remains after the journey? You might come to Indonesia for its blue seas, its volcanoes, or its ancient temples. But when you leave, what stays with you is usually something else entirely. A market before dawn, a family living upon the open ocean, the sound of hooves pounding across Sumba, or a stranger's smile given to you for no reason at all. Across more than 17,000 islands, people live by different languages, different beliefs, and different traditions, yet still belong to one single Indonesia. Which moment from this journey stayed with you the most? Share it in the comments below. If you'd like to keep exploring extraordinary places like this, subscribe to Amazing Discoveries Top US, turn on notifications, and join us for the next journey. Because sometimes the end of one journey is only the moment another world begins to open.